Welcome to Maintaining a Balance video 6. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the movement of blood around the body. If we're looking at our syllabus dot points, we're going to compare the structure of our arteries, capillaries, and our veins, and we're going to see how they're really important in transporting the blood that goes around our body, and how that blood changes as it moves through different tissues and vital organs. Here's a nice infographic that kind of summarizes the process of movement from the heart back to the heart. So we know that arteries are responsible for the transport of blood from the heart, and we know from stage 5 science that the red color here indicates oxygenation. When the oxygenated blood arrives at our tissues, the oxygen and nutrients that it's been carrying move out of the blood into our tissues. Any waste products move into our veins and travel back to the heart. This process of leaving and entering occurs through the capillaries here, and we know that the blue here represents deoxygenation, but that's because it lacks that oxygen because it's moved into the tissues. Instead, it now carries carbon dioxide and our waste products, and it's responsible for transporting it so it can be removed from our body. Here we look at the three types of circulatory vessels inside our body. We're looking at the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. We can see that the structure of the artery and the vein are similar, but also quite different. So they both contain the connective tissue outside here. We can see that the artery is a bit more of a circular uniform shape, and that vein is a little bit of an oval shape here. We can see that the elastic and smooth muscle layer in arteries is much larger than that smooth muscle layer in the vein, and we can see that the smooth muscle layer in the vein does lack elastic tissue. Both have an endothelium and both have a lumen, but the lumen inside the vein is much larger than the lumen in the artery, and we can see that the artery here contains some fatty deposits. In contrast to both of those, we see here the capillary, which has a very small lumen and is only one single cell layer thick, and it only contains that endothelium. We can see here that that's not drawn to scale, so capillaries are very, very small. They're microscopic. Here's another quick picture which you can refer to if you need some help in comparing the different structures. Here we have a table that compares the function and the structure of the three circulatory vessels. First, we'll start with arteries, and they're responsible for carrying blood away from the heart. We saw from the picture previously that they're much thicker, and that's because they're required to withstand the regular burst of blood leaving the heart. That also relates back to how thick the layer of the smooth muscle is, because it needs to withstand that pressure. But that smooth muscle layer is really important in adjusting its diameter, which regulates blood flow. And we know that the regulation of blood flow is really important for temperature regulation within the body. As that blood leaves the heart, those arteries expand in size, and that's where the increased elasticity comes in, as it's able to increase that change in the volume of blood at different times. We move next to the capillaries, and they're an expansive network that are responsible mainly for gas exchange. So we saw before that they're extremely tiny and microscopic, which means that they have an increase in surface area, and their thin walls relate to their function as they allow for efficient diffusion and gas exchange. They're really tiny, and they're able to get in close to those body tissues and vital organs and allow that chemical and gas exchange to occur. Veins, they carry the blood from the tissues back to the heart, and they're much thinner as they are receiving a blood at a much lower pressure. They have a very thin, smooth muscle layer and very few elastic fibers because they're not required to change in shape because of that low pressure. The most important thing to remember about veins is that they contain valves, and those valves are really important in preventing the blood from flowing backwards. We want to make sure that it's always moving back towards the heart. The transport system in our body is responsible for moving gases, and when we're talking about gases, we're talking about respiratory gases of carbon dioxide and oxygen. It moves nutrients, waste, and also hormones, which are our chemical signals within our body. Here we have a quick rundown of how the composition of our blood changes as it moves through different organs and tissues within our body. So inside the lungs, we have blood that is high in oxygen, low in carbon dioxide as oxygen enters the body. We know that as cellular respiration occurs and as our blood moves through the body, that oxygen is leaving the blood and moving into the tissues. But what's moving into the blood is carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide is formed as a waste product of that cellular respiration that our body needs for energy. As the blood moves into the digestive tract, that blood is absorbing nutrients and it's going to transport those nutrients around the body. So that blood leaving digestive tract has an increase in digestive end products. That blood moves into the liver, and that's where those digestive end products leave the blood. But coming into the blood is the nitrogenous waste that the liver forms to help remove that waste from our body. To help remove that waste from our body, our blood has to move that waste into our kidney, which turns that nitrogenous or removes that nitrogenous waste from our body. So the blood leaving that area is much lower in nitrogenous waste, and in the blood vessels closest to glands, we see a change in the levels of hormones as they're required by the body. Here we have a nice graphic that summarizes the movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide into and out of the blood as it's being used by our body's tissues. So refer to this if you're discussing the gas exchange component of the composition of blood. And this diagram here is representing all of the changes in blood throughout all the different organs in our bodies, which we just discussed in the text form earlier. So this is quite good at summarizing all of those. Thank you for watching video 6. Tune in for video 7.